In this video, I do want to explain exactly what Barcelona need to do to sign Nico Williams, because I do not know if you guys have heard, but Athletic Club are trying to stop this move. They are trying to speak to FC Barcelona and say, hey, look, we want to block this move. You guys cannot sign Nico Williams. I'm going to be explaining what that means. We're also going to be talking about how Nico Williams is going to be functioning within Barcelona's starting 11 for next season. So let's get straight into it. This is going to be Barcelona's plan for Nico Williams. The club has shown that they are fully prepared to pay the 62 million euro release clause in full, and this payment is expected to happen next week after June 30th, which marks the beginning of the new fiscal year in Spain. That's very important. Now let's understand what is a release clause, right? What are the mechanisms? A release clause is a legally binding amount set in a player's contract. If a club pays this amount in full, the player is contractually freed from their current club. So if Barcelona pay the 62 million euros, Nico Williams can leave to FC Barcelona. In Spain, La Liga do act as like a middleman. The release clause is paid to La Liga, and they have to inform the player's club, in other words, Athletic Club, and say that, you know, tough luck, it's done. Barcelona have paid the release clause that you do demand, you have to release the player. So the reason why this matters in this case is because Barcelona will pay the 62. Once paid, Athletic Club cannot block the move. However, there is resistance. Athletic Club are saying, we want to meet with FC Barcelona to discuss this transfer because this cannot happen. They are also preparing to raise concerns with La Liga and asking them to potentially block a transfer. I find it kind of strange, right, to know that Athletic Club are a little furious and want to block this move onto FC Barcelona, knowing damn well that about 2 months ago, Barcelona were not the ones going for Nico Williams. It's not like Barcelona are the ones that are like saying, hey, Athletic Club, we want to sign Nico Williams by force, even though Nico Williams may not be interested in us. We are going to do everything it takes to sign the player. Barcelona did not do that, right? Let's think about what happened 2 months ago. Nico Williams came to Barcelona, right? It is a player that came to Barcelona and said, I want to play for you guys. I want to leave my current club. So why is Athletic Club frustrated with FC Barcelona? Why are they trying to cause problems? Why can't they look for the best interest of Nico Williams instead of trying to create all of these problems and trying to block the move? Nico Williams did Athletic Club a favor by staying there for one more year. Nico Williams did not have to do that back in August 2024. So I don't understand this frustration. And the most important question is this: could Athletic Club actually stop this operation? And the simple answer is no. Like, the audacity for them to try and say, La Liga, please, like Javier Tebas, please block this transfer because we want to have Nico Williams for another year. No, they cannot do anything about that. Athletic Club have no power to stop this transfer whatsoever. Their only potential influence that they can have is like political pressure, but that is it. But there's no weight on that. Athletic Club have no power politically. Now, there is one thing that could stop Barcelona, of course. Maybe this is one of the reasons why Athletic Club are trying to like create these tensions, is because maybe they're trying to say, no, Barcelona cannot sign Nico because Barcelona are not complying with the financial fair play and they cannot afford him and they cannot register the player. Now, of course, La Liga can refuse to register the player with Barcelona if the club fails to meet the financial fair play regulations. So for example, if Nico's total annual cost is 20 million euros a season, not in salary, but salary and the transfer fee, right, combining both of them and spreading that transfer fee through the next 5 to 6 years, if the annual cost is 20 million euros, Barcelona, of course, must free 20 million euros elsewhere to register the player in. So yes, there is the possibility that even if Barcelona pay the 62 million euro release clause, it's not a guarantee that they could also register the player within their squad. La Liga might say, you do not have enough spending power nor wage room to register Nico Williams in La Liga. Then the whole thing becomes a problem. But that is not going to be the case, because Joan Laporta, as a matter of fact, stated about 12 to 14 hours ago that Barcelona have no liquidity problems, that Barcelona is okay, that we are back to the 1-1 rule. And this is what he said exactly, and I quote, we don't have bad relationships with Athletic Club. Yes, there has been a series of misunderstandings and incidents in recent years, but you can't say we have bad relations with them. We are two clubs with very long, strong history and with relationships that go back a very long time. I just don't understand the reactions they are having. With all due respect, each one should look after their own. I don't understand why they're going to talk about FC Barcelona in La Liga. I don't think it's right, but they will know what they are doing. We are working to be in the 1-1 rule, and we were already in it in the winter transfer window. All the steps have been taken to be able to sign normally, to not be financially intervened with a fair play as it has been happening over the past 2 to 3 years until winter. Earlier this year, we have to comply with certain parameters, of course, which is what we are doing, and depending on that, we will be able to sign and register the 2 players we want to sign. We even have Cope and Cadena said that have confirmed that the club is confident in their ability to pay the release clause and registering the player, that there should not be any delays. So here is going to be the timeline breakdown, just to give you guys a brief understanding on what's going to go on for the next 2 or 3 weeks. From now up until June 30th, Barcelona will wait. They're going to wait until the fiscal year to begin to avoid registering the cost in the current year books. From July 1st and onward, Barcelona will pay the 62 million, and on that day, the fiscal year will start, the brand new fiscal year. year. What they want is to look good for the 2024-2025 season and say that we made this much money, we have sold this many players, we're fine. And that is what's going to allow us to really do the damage that we want to do in July. Right after that, when they pay the release clause, La Liga is going to be checking Barcelona's compliance with the financial fair play, which is the 1-1 rule, and allowing for the registration to happen. And then from there, maybe by the second week of July, maybe even before that, Barcelona can announce Nico Williams as their brand new player. So now let's move on towards the next conversation, and let's talk about the tactics, right? How Nico Williams would function in this Barcelona team. So we all know that Flick likes to use a 4-2-3-1 system, and what Hansi Flick does want is pacey, dangerous wingers. Nico averages 3+ successful take-ons per 90 minutes. That is double of Rafinha's output. He is also a player that forces fullbacks to stay wide because of his danger that he does produce on the ball and even without the ball, and that is going to free up players like Pedri or Olmo between the lines. It's going to be beautiful, and the fact that he's going to be able to hug the touchline and be comfortable there, it's going to allow for players like Alejandro Balde to make those inverted diagonal runs and just become a monster of a left back. Most importantly, another role that he's going to be having is making dangerous crosses into the box because he can use both feet. He would be able to give Lewandowski and Lamine Yamal some ammo. So in terms of the relationship between Nico Williams and Alejandro Balde, I can see Nico Williams pinning the opposition right back with Alejandro Balde making those diagonal runs inside and looking either for a goal or to look for a cross into the box or like a short pass to Lewandowski or Dani Olmo or for Pedri. I think that Alejandro Balde is never ever going to find himself in a situation where he's going to need backup on the left flank, because if Nico Williams for some whatever reason has to invert himself, he loses the ball. Rafinha is going to have to be on the left side and take on his position, a position that he knows damn well about. And because we have to hold our positions there and we regain the ball, Rafinha is going to be the one on the left side with Nico Williams on the number 10 position just momentarily. So Alejandro Balde is going to be able to shift between Rafinha and Nico Williams as partners. That is amazing for Balde. He's going to have a very fun time, and especially going up against Trent. I believe that there's also possibilities where Nico Williams can receive from out wide, beat his man, and take long shots from outside the box. So I think that is going to be amazing. Obviously, you know, if Nico Williams ever does get injured or he's fatigued or he's tired, Rafinha can always go in that position, and we can have Dani Olmo drop into the number 10 position with Lewandowski up top. We can also talk about Nico Williams just staying put there, staying on the left wing position. Maybe we can give a player like Dani Olmo some rest and we put Pedri in the number 10 position with Bernal and Frankie as the central defensive midfielders. There's a lot of things that we can do here. I would also not be surprised if we see a moment where Lamine Yamal takes on the number 10 position with Rafinha going onto the right wing position. It's a very fluid, dynamic, most versatile attack that we're going to be having here since the MSN days. So I believe that signing Nico Williams is not like just a normal signing. To me, this is a signing that would unlock us a 3-layered attack with to pin defenses, diagonal breaks to destabilize them, and also central rotations to finish off those moves. Here's also going to be a couple of graphs on how Nico Williams does compare himself to the other players in La Liga in terms of like wingers, right? Just pure wingers. In terms of shot creating actions per 90, Nico Williams is one of the best, beating Rodrigo and beating Bryan Gil. Now, I do think that Nico Williams is going to have to really combat that, right? Like try to combat against Yamal, Rafinha, and Vinicius in terms of shot creating actions per 90. I think that when he plays Nico into a team like FC Barcelona, his numbers are going to amplify. And the same thing is going to go on with progressive carries. Yes, he is still, I would just say, number 2, right? In this graph here. Nico Williams does beat Yamal, Rafinha, Rodrigo, and Bryan Gil in this metric here. But obviously, when you have a player like Vinicius Jr. also on the flanks and trying to compete against you in those progressive carries, he is going to beat you. But we'll see how his progressive carries per 90 does improve at a team like FC Barcelona, because I do think that Hansi Flick is going to be demanding more from Nico to be more daring, to be more dangerous, to take more chances, more high risk. It's going to be amazing. In terms of successful take-ons per 90, I would say that Nico Williams is decent at that. He can obviously get much better. The players that he would have to beat is Lamine Yamal and Vinicius Jr., which makes a lot of sense. And it makes a lot of sense that a player like Rafinha, who is not one of the best or world-class players in terms of successful take-ons, he's still pretty good and better than Rodrigo and slightly, I would just say, lower than Bryan Gil. But all in all, Nico Williams is very decent. We also do have the take-on success rate. Nico Williams wins it 64% of the time, beating Yamal, Rafinha, Rodrigo, and Bryan Gil. The only player, obviously, that he has to beat, it is yet again Vinicius. Now, what gets very interesting is the crosses into the 18-yard box per 90 minutes. Nico Williams is one of the best. He is number 3. Bryan Gil is second, but Lamine Yamal is first, and by a mile. Like, Lamine Yamal is a monster when it comes to these crosses into the 18-yard box. And I think that Nico Williams, for sure, knowing his capabilities, knowing what his strengths are, Hansi Flick is going to want more from that. He wants more from this metric here, and is for sure going to amplify as the season does go by. And lastly, which I think is the most important, if we look at the expected threat added per 90, I think that Nico Williams has to improve much more. And I do think the reason why these numbers are very low for Nico is because in the 2024-2025 season, it was not his best season. I think that in terms of his threat overall, it was just not the best. But every time we saw him in the Spanish national team, he just overperformed himself. So I think that when you once again bring Nico to a team like Barca, he will for sure amplify his own numbers here. I just don't think that Athletic Club were at their best level last season, hence the reason why his numbers were really hurting. So I expect Nico to be much more of a threat in the final third when he finds players like Lewandowski, Olmo, and Pedri and Yamal. And I'm pretty sure that Hansi Flick has a huge plan on making sure that Nico Williams does get maximized in every game. But that is it. That is going to be wrapping up today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.